June 2023, Dubai. The heat is oppressive, rising off the tarmac in shimmering waves. Watch these two men. They have just flown 4,000 miles from London, enduring 7 hours in a cramped cabin for one specific reason. Standing before them is a massive steel shipping container. Inside, they believe, lies the culmination of 6 months of meticulous work, their entire operation, everything they have risked, everything they have built. In about 30 seconds, they are going to crack the seal and throw open those heavy doors. And when they do, their lives will be effectively over. But they do not know that yet. To understand why this specific moment destroys them, we need to rewind. We need to go back to where this all started, back to a 29-year-old from East London who thought he had engineered the perfect crime. His name was Wahid, Ysef. Based in Ilford, East London, Ysef ran what he genuinely believed was an impenetrable criminal enterprise between December 2022 and May 2023. And honestly, for a long time he was not wrong. Wahid had identified a lucrative gap in the market. He realized that rich people in the UK do not just own cars. They own assets worth staggering amounts of money. Range Rovers, Land Rovers, BMWs vehicles costing £60,000, £80,000, or even £100,000. These cars sit openly on driveways and in dealership lots, exposed. While most people see a status symbol, Wahid saw a catalogue of parts, £50,000 in components, an engine worth £8,000, a transmission worth £5,000. Even the onboard computers and infotainment systems fetch thousands on the black market. If you know how to strip them and where to sell them, a single car is a goldmine. So Wahid built a system, and from a criminal standpoint, it was terrifyingly efficient. It relied on a specific technological vulnerability found in modern luxury vehicles. The passive entry passive start PEP system. This is the convenience feature that allows you to unlock your car just by walking up to it. Your key fob constantly broadcasts a low-frequency radio signal, essentially shouting, "I am here." The car listens for this specific encrypted handshake. When it hears it, the doors unlock. It is convenient for the owner, but it is a fatal flaw for security. Wahid's crews, operating in two-man teams at 3:00 a.m. on quiet residential streets, exploited this ruthlessly. They did not need crowbars or glass breakers. They utilized a relay attack. One thief would stand near the house, holding a signal amplifier, a device often bought online for less than £100. This device captures the faint signal from the keys sitting on your hallway table, boosts it, and beams it to the second thief standing next to the car. The car is tricked into thinking the key is physically present. The mirrors unfold, the lights flash, and the doors click open. No alarms. No broken glass. Just silence. They press the start button, the engine roars to life, and within 30 seconds, the vehicle is gone. It is a ghost crime, leaving owners bewildered and sleeping soundly, while their £80,000 asset vanishes into the night. Wahid was not operating in a vacuum. He understood that stealing the car was only the first step in a complex supply chain. To monetize these assets, he needed a corporate structure. He recruited Mohammed Bukhari, 28, as his head of logistics and primary transporter, the man responsible for moving the hot inventory from the theft sites to the processing center. Then there was Stanley Vanderberg, 25, who handled deliveries and moved vehicles between holding locations. But the heart of the operation, the place where the magic and the destruction truly happened, was an unassuming industrial unit in Braintree, Essex. To the passing motorist, it looked like just another warehouse. Inside, however, it was a high-speed disassembly line, a literal slaughterhouse for luxury automobiles. The facility was equipped with professional hydraulic lifts, high-torque impact wrenches, and industrial cutting tools. It was staffed by a team of skilled mechanics, David, B. George, and others who could strip an £80,000 Range Rover down to its skeletal chassis in under 4 hours. This speed was critical. A stolen car is a liability. A pile of parts is a commodity. Wahid's business model was brilliant because it exploited the global grey market for auto parts. See, Exporting a whole stolen car is risky. VIN numbers are everywhere, and customs officials look for stolen vehicles. But used auto parts? That is a massive, unregulated global trade. Furthermore, in many destinations, import taxes on luxury vehicles can be 100% or 200% of the car's value. By importing the engine, transmission and body panel separately and reassembling them locally, buyers could own a Range Rover for a fraction of the legal price. The operation was a machine. Every week, more cars vanished from driveways. Every week, more cash flowed in. Over just 6 months, they processed £2.8 million worth of vehicles. That represents over 70 cars. That is 70 families waking up to empty driveways, shattered peace of mind, and the bureaucratic nightmare of insurance claims. But Wahid did not care about the victims. He was too focused on the efficiency of his assembly line. He thought he was untouchable. But in the world of high-tech crime, a single digital footprint can burn down an empire. The unraveling began in May 2023. A Land Rover was stolen from a driveway in Essex. As per the usual protocol, the owner reported it, and the police logged it. The vehicle had a tracker, but initially, it went dark, likely jammed or disconnected. The car simply disappeared. Weeks passed with zero signal, and the owner assumed it was gone forever, likely already in a container halfway to Africa or the Middle East. But then, a ghost in the machine woke up. Whether a jammer failed or a backup battery kicked in, the tracker suddenly sent a ping. It was not moving. It was sitting stationary in Essex. Police triangulated the signal to that nondescript industrial unit in Braintree. Now put yourself in the shoes of the Essex Police. You have a confirmed location for a stolen vehicle. Standard operating procedure dictates you kick down the door, arrest whoever is inside and recover the car. It is a quick win. Case closed. But as officers surveyed the perimeter, something made them hesitate. If there was one stolen car here, sitting in a warehouse that size, the probability of it being a solitary incident was near zero. They realized this was not just a garage, it was a hub. And that realization shifted their entire strategy from enforcement to surveillance. Instead of a raid, the Essex Police initiated a game of patience. They deployed unmarked cars, plainclothes officers, and long-range surveillance equipment, settling into the shadows to watch. This decision marks the shift from standard reactive policing to intelligence-led policing. In reactive policing, you stop the crime you see. You arrest the low-level mechanic holding the wrench. But in intelligence-led policing, you let the crime continue temporarily to map the entire network. You tolerate a degree of lawlessness to secure a catastrophic blow against the organization's leadership. For weeks, they watched the facility breathe. They saw vehicles arriving under the cover of darkness. They tracked a white van that made regular supply runs. They identified the players. Wade, Ysef directing operations like a CEO. Mohammed Bukhari managing the logistics. Stanley Vanderberg handling the supply. And the workers David, George and others keeping the disassembly line moving. They were building a network map, connecting the dots between the thief on the driveway and the mastermind in the office. And then, they witnessed the endgame. Officers watched as a massive shipping container was positioned at the bay. Over several nights, the gang loaded it with the harvest engines, transmissions, and body panels from at least 7 high-value vehicles. They watched the doors get sealed, the paperwork get signed, and a freight company collect the heavy steel box. Its destination, Dubai. The container began its journey to a UK port, scheduled to be hoisted onto a cargo ship. At this moment, the police faced a critical juncture. They could seize the container at the gates. It was full of stolen property, hundreds of thousands of pounds of undeniable evidence. It would be a slam-dunk case for possession of stolen goods. But they aimed higher. They wanted to prove the international conspiracy. They contacted port authorities and arranged for a covert interception. This is where the operation required surgical precision. You can't just pop open a shipping container in the middle of a busy port without raising alarms. It had to be moved to a secure inspection bay. When they cracked the seal, the site confirmed everything. Parts from Range Rovers, Land Rovers, and BMWs, stacked high. The police spent hours photographing every item. They catalogued serial numbers, matched them to police reports of stolen vehicles, and documented the packaging. This was their evidence for court irrefutable proof of the crime. Then, they did something unprecedented. They did not just seize the goods, they emptied the container completely. Every engine, every door panel, every screw was removed. The police essentially stole the stolen goods back. But they did not stop the shipment. They closed the empty steel doors, applied a new seal that looked identical to the original, and authorized the container to be loaded onto the ship. Why? To turn the container into a Trojan horse. As the ship left the harbor, Wahed and his gang believed they had just successfully exported another fortune. They went back to business as usual, stealing more cars to fill the next order. They had no idea that they were now tracking a ghost. For 2 weeks, that empty metal box sailed across the ocean, a ticking time bomb that would only detonate when it reached the desert. June 2023. The ghost container arrives in Dubai. 2 lieutenants of Wahed's organization have flown ahead to meet it. They book their rental car and drive to the port, confident and relaxed. It is 2:00 p.m. local time, and the desert heat is a suffocating 42 degrees C. The air shimmers off the shipping crates, distorting the horizon. They are sweating before they even step out of the vehicle, but the discomfort is irrelevant. They are here for the payday. They handle the paperwork, clear security, and locate their specific unit in the vast labyrinth of the port. It is just another Tuesday in the life of an international criminal enterprise. Meanwhile, 4,000 miles away, under the grey, pre-dawn sky of the United Kingdom, a very different atmosphere prevails. It is June 27th, 5:00 a.m. The streets of Essex, Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire are silent. Most of the country is asleep. But in the shadows of 3 different counties, dozens of police vans have cut their engines and rolled to a stop. Teams of officers in tactical gear are stacking up outside specific front doors. They check their watches. The synchronization is absolute. This is not just a raid. It is a choreographed takedown, designed to sever the head of the snake at the exact moment the tail realizes it is being cut off. In Dubai, heavy machinery groans as the container is lowered into the inspection bay. The metal clangs against the concrete, a sound of finality. 2 men approach. One of them holds the bolt cutters, or the key for the heavy padlock. They are chatting, perhaps joking about the heat, completely unaware that they are standing on a trap door. In London, the police commander gives the signal. The radio silence breaks. Dubai. The lock snaps. The heavy steel handles are turned. The men pull. The hinges screech, protesting against the heat and the salt air. The doors swing wide, allowing the blinding desert sunlight to flood into the cavernous interior. UK Police, police. The shout tears through the morning silence. Battering rams hit doorframes with a sickening crunch. Wood splinters. Glass shatters. Chaos erupts in Ilford, Luton and Boreham Wood simultaneously. Dubai. The men blink, their eyes adjusting to the shift from bright sun to dark interior. They expect to see the gleaming contours of Range Rover engines, the stacked pallets of transmissions. Instead, they see nothing. Just a wooden floor and dust motes dancing in the light. The container is empty. The silence in that Dubai container is deafening. Imagine the cognitive dissonance. You just flew 7 hours, you have the paperwork. The seal was intact. The container number matches. But it is empty. Panic does not set in immediately. Confusion comes first. They check the number again. Is it the wrong box? No. Did the buyer steal it? Impossible. They pull out their phones. They need to call the boss. They dial Wahed. In Ilford, Wahed, Ysef, is on the floor, hands cuffed behind his back, adrenaline crashing through his system. On the table nearby, his phone lights up. It vibrates against the wood, buzzing incessantly. The screen displays a call from Dubai. A police officer looks at it, then looks at Wahed. They do not answer. They let it ring. That ringing phone is the sound of total defeat. In Dubai, the voicemail picks up. They call Mohammed Bas. Voicemail. They call the warehouse. No answer. Tensid zia for Kob Bas. Yazamesinamians. Keep our common galleons. Keep our common dalantan 10 galleon calls. Oimenemian stavan calls. Ba common galayin sias. Ken galayin siafa. 7 galayin gedens. Mizikate. Staring into an empty void, the two men finally realize the terrifying truth. They have not been robbed. They have not made a mistake. They have been watched. The empty container was not an error, it was a message. And as the realization hits them, that everyone back home is gone, they understand that the only thing waiting for them in London is a cell. The flight back to London must have been the longest 7 hours of their lives. In Dubai, the two men were paralyzed. They could not stay, they had no resources, no contacts, and the local authorities would eventually flag them. Their only option was to return to the burning building that was their life in the UK. They booked the first available flight, likely spending every minute of the journey in a state of high-altitude nausea, replaying the empty container in their minds. When they landed at Heathrow and cleared customs, the welcoming committee was not family, it was the police. They were handcuffed at the baggage claim, the final pieces of the puzzle snapping into place. Fast forward to June 2024, 1 year later, at Chelmsford Crown Court. All 8 defendants stood in the dock. The judge had heard the full scope of the conspiracy. 6 months of organized theft, over 70 vehicles stolen, and a total value of £2.8 million. Wahid Ysef, the mastermind, who thought he was smarter than the system. Tavor sentenced to 6 years and 1 month. Muhammad Bukhari, the logistics head, got 4 years and 7 months. The rest of the crew, including the mechanics and drivers, received sentences ranging from 3 to 4 years. In total, the gang was handed over 36 years of prison time. The judge described the operation as highly sophisticated, but the subtext of the sentencing was even more damning. These men were humiliated. Consider the psychology of the police operation. The Essex Police could have raided the Braintree facility in May. They could have recovered the stolen parts and made arrests then. But they chose to wait. They chose to let the criminals labor to load a container, pay for its shipping, and fly to another continent, only to open a box of air. That is not just law enforcement, it is psychological warfare. It stripped the gang of their arrogance. It sent a message to the entire criminal underworld: we are not just watching you, we are playing with you. But this story is not just about 8 men in prison. It is a warning for every car owner watching this. Vehicle theft in the UK has reached epidemic levels. With over 130,000 cars stolen in 2023, that is 1 every 4 minutes. The method used by Wahed's gang, the relay attack, is the most common. If you own a car with keyless entry, you are a target. Here is how you stop them. First, buy a Faraday pouch or signal blocking pouch for your keys. They cost £10 online. These pouches are lined with metallic mesh that creates a Faraday cage, blocking all electromagnetic signals. If your key is in the pouch, the thieves' amplifier cannot find it. Second, consider a ghost immobilizer. This is a secondary digital lock that requires a specific button sequence on your dashboard, like entering a PIN code before the engine will start, even if the key is present. Finally, do not underestimate old-school security. A heavy, yellow steering wheel lock is a powerful visual deterrent. Thieves want a 30-second job. If they see a physical lock, they will likely move on to the next house. Wahed Ysef learned the hard way that technology cuts both ways. He used tech to steal, but the police used tech and patience to destroy him. If this story of the empty container hooked you, hit that like button. It helps more people see these warnings. Subscribe for more deep dives into UK crime cases. Next week, we are looking at a Birmingham gang that tried to launder £3 million using a method they thought was foolproof. Spoiler, it was not, and the fallout was even more shocking than this. Until then, lock your cars, pouch your keys, and remember, if it feels like you are getting away with it, you are probably already caught.